You're listening to NegotiateHer, a podcast led by women of color from two generations, exploring what it means to negotiate power and possibility. With Gitanjali Ponnappa and Alpa Gupta, you'll hear stories and strategies shaped by different life stages, all with one mission: to help you claim your voice and your future.
Gitanjali, some negotiations are tougher because you're dealing with someone who thrives on conflict. They may interrupt, refuse to compromise, or escalate the tension unnecessarily. In this episode, let's talk about how to tackle such people, please. These individuals can take a simple negotiation into a minefield. Let's explore some strategies to stay calm and maintain control. I know I need this.
When I was writing out this episode and I was thinking about the structure of the episode and what do I want for us to talk about, as I was writing it, my heart rate was going up. It was just literally, I was just writing. I wasn't even interacting with, I was sitting in silence on the couch with two dogs, wearing my earphones, and my heart rate was going up.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So, okay, let's, I think to kick off this episode, the first thing that we should talk about is how prevalent are high conflict people. Are they in our life every day? Are they in our life occasionally? Are they rarely in our life? Like on a scale of 1 to 10? Because there's a reason that I did some number searching around it. Very often, when we deal with high conflict people, we sometimes think that we are doing something wrong. Like we turn it inwards and we say, oh, maybe I don't understand something. Maybe it's because of me. Maybe I need to be this. Maybe I, inwards, So here's the thing. High conflict people are actually all around us. It's not unusual. It's not at all a unique thing. So I found a statistic. Now, don't beat me up on where I got the statistic from, but let's go with approximately, it might be right, that there is no exact figure, but some experts estimate that around 10% of the working population exhibits high conflict traits. 10%. So we meet them often. 10% is every 10th person that you meet is a high conflict person. In an average team, if it's a team of 10 people, there's one person in there who is high conflict. The probability is at 10%, which is actually not rare. Rare is 1%. It's at 10%. Now, you and I can argue whether it's 8 or 23. Or the point that I'm making is high conflict people are common in our life, and therefore it is almost our responsibility to learn how to tackle high conflict people.
So, question, because I do believe there's two things, right? The first is I'd like to know how we define a high conflict person, because I can be high conflict in certain situations, but I wouldn't identify as a high conflict person, right? That's the first thing. So I want to know how we define it.
Yeah.
The second thing I want to know is, are there cultural differences in that definition of high conflict? Because I can see conflict very differently culturally.
Okay.
I mean, not that I'm asking you questions. Let's discuss it.
No, I know. Okay. So the culture one, hold the thought, because it's going to work in the back of my head and I'm going to give you an answer later, because I actually did an entire dissertation on culture. So I want to think that I should be able to answer that. But let's start with, how do you identify that? Because I think it's really important. We tend to turn it inwards and say it's us, it's our fault. So therefore, it's important to identify these people and realize it's not you. Maybe you are a high conflict person who's listening to this podcast, but let's see what those are. So a person who regularly derails a productive discussion. Now, what does that look like? What does derailment look like? Blaming others. So pointing fingers. Unless, of course, it's a tactic, right? So if you're deep in a negotiation and someone says something like, hey, you know what? I can't make this decision. My boss needs to make the decision. That's not high conflict. That's a tactic. I'm just having somebody else make the decision, because in truth, while I'm in the negotiation, it's a tactic to say, I need a break. You say, oh, no, it's not my fault. It's my boss. My boss needs to approve this. I can't sign off on it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone who regularly in a discussion, whether it's a 1 hour discussion, so it's a frequency, they use it as a way to not take responsibility. So they blame their boss, they blame another team member, they blame some other circumstance. So it's an external locus of control, basically. One. Second one, they're not listening. They're just literally not listening. They start a discussion and then go off into a tangent, or you're starting a discussion and they don't let you finish it. They interrupt your sentences. They're jumping over you. Their entire body language, and we'll do the next episode on body language, is of aggression. So they are refusing to listen. Okay.
I might start feeling a bit uncomfortable in this episode. Let's just put it.
I know. This episode really, even writing
And
it,
not because I'm a high conflict person, but because I'm just thinking of the people that I have dealt with.
Yeah.
When you are speaking about it.
There's another one. They escalate over small, tiny, little things. So I've had clients who are these high conflict people, and they just, for literally no reason, will call my boss. And then my boss calls me. And then I'm like, what is the point of having called my boss? You should have just called me. So they escalate. It's a habitual pattern to undermine you and go above you. So the escalation is actually a power play. Yeah. Or if you think of it from an email, when you read an email and you want to just literally slap somebody at the end of that email, because that person has CC'd 5 other people that have no purpose of being on that email. They can't do anything about this. This is between you and the other person. You're negotiating, not these 5 other people, but engaging these 5 other people is feeding the drama and allowing for power play. So that's the kind of people. And there's in my previous firm, we did this 5 dysfunctions of a team, or the dysfunctions of a team by Patrick Lencioni. Different story. Did not like the book, but doesn't matter. This Patrick Lencioni talks about this person who is constantly escalating conflict, and you're puzzled by the escalation because there's really no material reason in there. I look at you looking at me like you're already looking angry at the topic.
I'm not upset at the topic. It's just I think it's more than 10%, to be honest.
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry.
But this is my feeling. It's not based on any data. Okay. I have a question about dealing with such people, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we will definitely talk about that. I think one of the things you said is like, no, you're not imagining it.
Yeah.
You are not being difficult. I think if you have enough self-awareness to be sitting down, breaking apart a conversation, trying to figure out what you said, how you could have avoided it, or how the other person react, chances are you're not the problem. Because at some point, I remember being in an extremely high conflict situation, and I convinced myself that I was the narcissist in the conversation. And I remember talking again to my therapist about this, and she was like, "Are you nuts? Like, a narcissist never comes into a conversation saying, 'Am I a narcissist?'" Because they're far beyond that.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was interesting to me.
So how do you know that you're dealing with one? I have actually a person in my mind right now. I'm going to tell you about him a little bit later. But the way that he exhibited this was with aggression.
Yep.
Right? So
active aggression, passive aggression, all types.
All types of aggression, right? And we as human beings, we don't need to get a label to understand and recognize aggression. We recognize it instantly, right? You know on the road when someone is being aggressive. You know when you're getting into a train and other people are also jostling you, but there's one person who's a little bit more aggressive. We instinctively understand aggression. There are people who are actively asserting dominance. And we talk about asserting dominance over dogs, and we talk about, like that. But they are constantly trying to show you, in quotes, who's boss.
Yeah. And undermine you.
And they also, I find, my experience, and maybe this is not necessarily scientific, my experience is they have an inability to display empathy. They literally don't know what you're talking about. They have no understanding of the fact that maybe I can't charge my team out at this rate. They don't even know how to fake it. Like the narcissist example you gave me, these people that I have repeatedly experienced in my life have zero clue. Like when you look at them, there isn't even a spark going off in their eyes or in their brain that they have actually understood that this is impossible for you to give. So they just think you're playing hardball, but actually they just don't even understand it. And that doesn't mean that I have to have empathy and understanding for the fact that they are an idiot. But I think you're asking me, how do you recognize it? They are attackers.
Can I
They're
say something?
regressive. Yeah.
I think you recognize them with the, at least for me, the reaction that my body gives them.
Mhm.
Because I have this person in mind, and she literally makes me warm every time I see her.
Mhm.
Because my body rejects the vision of her being in front of me. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like the energy that when she's around. And it's all of those things. It's the blaming, it's the refusing to listen or have any other point of view that could possibly be right.
Mhm.
It is my point of view is right. Yours is
It's inconsequential.
is inconsequential. And eventually the only aim is to ensure that you agree with that point of view that that person has.
Mhm.
And escalating conflict and also being very nitpicky.
Yes.
Like not being able to not being able to identify the larger picture, but if there is something that they can pick on to make you feel worse about a situation, they will do it.
Mhm. This part about, you're getting warm.
Yeah.
I said, my heart rate was increasing. This is the answer to your cultural question. If your body is reacting, so you have to listen to your body.
Yeah.
You have to hear and see your own reaction.
Yep.
Because a common reaction to a high conflict behavior, like being attacked or being threatened or being the recipient of manipulative tricks, is actually your heart rate going up. Like this is this smoke coming out of my, this smoke coming out of, yeah, it's intuition. So when you feel threatened or you feel disrespected, there is your sign that this person is a high conflict person. Because that feeling is intuitive. I can't quantify that I am 73% disrespected. But
Agreed.
you know that when you are being disrespected. It's a little bit like racism. You know when you've been a victim of it.
Yeah.
But the person who is being racist doesn't know that they're being racist.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
So from a culture question, yes, some cultures are long-term oriented, and if you are from a culture that is short-term oriented, maybe you'll have a difference of opinion on what you're negotiating and what the terms are. Maybe some cultures are more direct, like the Germanic cultures, probably a Western world is more direct, let's say, which I don't believe is completely true because the Brits are not that direct, right?
Agreed.
So let's say that certain cultures are more direct and some cultures are indirect. So are you reading those cues right or wrong? I think that the better question is your body reading the cue of this person?
And yes, I agree with you with culture, it's a big thing. But especially in, again, looking at the environments that we work in, at the end of the day, we work for multinational. I mean, I work for a multinational big company. I always have. This is no longer an excuse. Culture is important for you to understand, but disrespect is disrespect.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, let's be honest about that. It's when you're being disrespectful in any culture.
Yeah.
Like, of course, you may offend without knowing. For example, I have a colleague who doesn't like to look directly into the eyes because from her culture it's not normal to do that. She doesn't look at men very directly. And if someone is wanting to speak to her and constantly tries to make that eye contact and she says no, I wouldn't like to, maybe she feels okay, no, this person is being disrespectful. But once she tells him, if he continues to want that behavior from her, then that's disrespect.
Yes. Exactly. And that is asserting your power over somebody.
Exactly.
That's dominance.
Yeah, it's like if you have communicated what is okay and what is not okay, and that person continues to just throw those boundaries out of the I don't know what the word is, out of the water,
window,
out of the window,
yeah,
out of the water, that's not right, out of
okay.
the window, that's when you know that there's something wrong.
When you know the example you just gave about the person who made you warm, like angry warm,
Yeah.
and that this person was definitely refusing to listen. I have a person in my mind
Yeah, let's talk.
as well. So, ugh, like my hands shake when I think about that person. But the reason that I want to bring it up is so that we can talk about what we do now.
Yeah,
with
of course.
with these characters, because they're not unusual.
So can I say one thing first? If you can get out of that situation, if it's a negotiation, obviously it's different. But if it is a manager and subordinate relationship, or it's a relationship that you can negotiate out of, if it's making you physically sick, I just want to say that you should do that.
Walk away.
Walk away. If it's making you mentally and physically sick, I would say nothing is worth that. That's my first disclaimer.
Yeah.
But go on.
No, but that is also about setting boundaries and maintaining control. Is you have to know you have the choice. This is not a regular person. This is not just a difficult person we're talking about. This is not just we have a disagreement. This is an angry, aggressive, high conflict person. So your normal tactic of may not apply, and therefore walk away is a real option. It might be the best course of action, actually, whether it is a negotiation or simple conversation that has gone downhill. I'm feeling very escalated right now. I'm feeling very heated. So let me tell you a little funny story. Years ago, I had a boss's boss, like way, way above me, Glenn. And I was having like an informal chat with Glenn, and I was telling him about a high conflict person that was very present in our team, disruptive, making us, when I say meaning the whole team, and this was a large team, we're talking about 100 something people, extremely uncomfortable. So I wasn't the only one feeling it. And he told me, for 100 people, isn't it funny that you only have one asshole on your team? Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, actually, from a ratio perspective, that's 1%. You should expect behavior like that. And that early experience of this person just putting a ratio and bringing it to my attention that you should expect behavior like this. Therefore, it's important that you recognize it, that you don't blame yourself, that you learn to walk away, that you have lots of techniques available to you, because you should expect it.
I love Gabor Mate. Have you read his book, Myth of Normal?
No.
He's like a renowned expert in trauma, addiction, mind body connection, and he doesn't talk about high conflict people, but I mean, high conflict people are people at the end of the day, and they have traumas probably in their personal lives that show up in these work situations.
Okay.
And often, I mean, one of the things that I've started to realize is high conflict people are little wounded children who just are in those powerful positions. And to even recognize that when you start blaming yourself, it's important to that these people are actually highly traumatized adults.
So, my instinct, which is not right, and I keep trying to override it when it comes to high conflict people, I don't care. We've talked about personality traits, we've talked about ocean, and one of the N is neuroticism. I know we don't like the word. So there are personality traits, when taken too far, they can be negative, right? So even if let's say when you think about your values, if you're a high perseverance person, taken too far, that means you don't know how to let go, right?
Yeah, of course.
So there are certain dark side personality traits. And I don't know how to pronounce this correctly. Machiavellianism, Machiavelli, right? Okay, so that dark side personality trait is associated with a tendency to manipulate and exploit others. And the person who has this exhibits risky behavior and also antisocial behavior, which is not having empathy, not listening. That's antisocial behavior. But these people are the ones who are more likely to initiate a negotiation. They are more likely to ask to have a discussion. Why? Because they tend to be more competitive. And there's something in their lives that they've learned from this behavior. But the light touch studies, meaning they're not deep, what they show that there is some evidence that people who exhibit this Machiavellianism actually do worse in negotiations. And when you say worse, it's about not just the outcome, which is did I get the contract or not? Was it big enough or not? But also the experience of the outcome. And that's because they're overly competitive, not correctly, nicely balanced competitive. They're excessively competitive, they're aggressive, and they push things a little too far. And so people who are Machiavellians, I know I'm not pronouncing it correctly, they actually do not have sophisticated social skills, and they are often overly impulsive. So these are also some ways to look at the person that you are sitting across who you think is high conflict, is to think about that dark side. Are they manipulating you? Are they trying to exploit a situation and get more out of it? Are they being competitive excessively? Are they aggressive? Are they pushing things? But not just like, oh, I'm pushing the envelope, pushing the boundary, like not that. They're aggressively pushing things a little too far. More characteristics.
You know what's more scary is this kind of a personality trait that's combined with people who know when to say what. So, for example, I have seen this kind of behavior downwards, the hierarchy, but as soon as it comes to the right people and knowing and getting what they want, it's manipulation, but it's in the other direction.
Yeah.
So it's not competitive, but it's like, how can I manipulate the situation, my words, the way that I present things, to basically, it's almost deceptive.
Yes.
To the point of deception, actually.
Correct. Yes.
It's partially right, partially true. You can, it's a mix of things. And that's what I find actually even more scary, because these kinds of people, the Machiavellians.
So we call him Mac.
Yeah, let's call them Macs. The Macs, they could be easier to identify. But who I'm scared of are the ones who
are smooth.
Are smooth Machiavellians.
Yeah.
Macs. The ones that they know how to play the game, and they know how to play it in a dirty way.
Yeah. So we both have people like that we have experienced. And the sad thing is we're going to continue to experience these people. They're not going to be a rarity that it's a once in a lifetime.
No,
you're going to experience it regularly. Right. This happens regularly because it is a personality trait.
And it's the people who go up in organizations also often exhibit this kind of behavior. It depends on the obviously culture the work culture, blah, 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 blah. But in every team, in large corporations, these people exist, and they are pretty high up.
Agreed. I am resisting you saying that they're pretty high up. I'm resisting you saying that because I think it's a characteristic, it's a behavior, and I don't know if altitude makes you more of that. I think you already are a dick. You're going to be that all your career, right? So once you develop that pattern, you're a high conflict teenager, unless you have high self-awareness, you've got therapy, you've worked with people who love and care for you, you're just going to continue that pattern of behavior. So that's why I'm resisting you saying that it's high up.
It's everywhere.
I think it's everywhere. It is a trait.
It's at every level.
It's like nice people are everywhere. I think crappy people are also everywhere.
So you really don't think that when you go higher up and the stakes are higher, that people who are more resilient in this kind of they actually succeed more?
I really believe that you can have wonderful people, kind, open, generous, with integrity, tough, all of those things. It is possible. So I don't think going up and the oxygen going low changes. If you are essentially a person of integrity, you will continue to be that. If you are essentially a person who's collaborative, you are not suddenly going to stop collaborating. But if you've never collaborated, you may not unless you're given an incentive. So I think it's, from my experience, oversimplified to say that this behavior becomes more intense the higher you go. I think that if I were to look back at when I was a senior consultant, I had this kind of behavior from other senior consultants. When I became a manager, I had this kind of behavior from other managers. And the incidence of like the 10%, it stayed about the 10%. It's not like it got more concentrated and became 90% when I became a partner.
Okay, that's interesting because I mean, I don't know the research, but I remember a conversation about whether like antisocial behavior and it actually goes up the higher you are in companies and corporates and in people who own companies as well. But management teams often have higher rates of antisocial behavior in them. I have to find the
Yeah, because
because
I have worked with wonderful clients who are not antisocial. I have had a career that has had wonderful people in good proportion, equally bad people as well. But so I don't really think this, but I don't know so.
Okay, so let's talk. Let's make it positive.
Yes. Okay. Well, I don't know. Okay. This is a really, really tough episode because I don't know if there's that much positive. Because a high conflict person, the definition high conflict. How is this going to be positive, Abba? So like I'm really feeling this. I'm feeling aggressive right now. Okay. One of the options that you said was to walk away. Right. I think that should be like option number one. If I were to try,
it would be option number one for you.
You know why I'm saying that? There's nothing in the world, and again, we're talking about normal people like me. And when I say normal, living in the first world, I don't have to fight for my food. My home is taken care of. So I live a life of being gifted a good life and having privilege, right? I think walking away is an option because I don't need to participate in a shouting match. I don't have to tolerate a personal attack. And sometimes walking away because you are unwilling to compromise your values and the other person is also unwilling to compromise at all, then why not just handle your stress and your frustration by walking away? I think there's power in walking away.
I completely agree with you. I walked away and I now feel much better about this because no matter if I stayed in that situation, my mental, my physical, my family, it would have all suffered, and those are and those are non-negotiables for me. Talking about they're my reservation price.
Yeah,
and that was just something I had to do.
So walking away is tough, though. Meaning, I want to visualize this. You are in a conference room talking to somebody whose voice and tone is getting louder or more aggressive. You are clearly feeling, and you've recognized that you're feeling disrespected. There's a smell of aggression. Describe to me, how would you walk away?
I walked away from the entire situation.
Yeah, but now I'm talking about a very specific. How does that walk away look? Because a high conflict person is being conflicty in your face. So for me, what that would look like.
So if you ask me, if you're able to hold your ground, so I was told that they didn't want certain farts in there in those kinds of languages, and this is in a corporate world, yelling at me. At that point, I wish I had.
I'm appalled.
Yeah, and I wish I had said, if that's the way you're going to speak to me, I think we should pause this meeting, and let's talk at a time when we can actually be civil to each other. Because that's what I wish I had the courage and the strength to say, because I was being yelled at, literally.
Yeah. So I want to say, write that down, because this is going to happen again to you. And that's then the thing. You should have a script.
Yep.
You should have that sentence. Hey, this conversation is making me feel very uncomfortable. So at this moment, I'd like to hang up on the call, or I would like to get up and go get a cup of coffee, or actually take the day off.
Yeah.
Let's revisit this another time. So you're clearly setting your boundary and you're maintaining control. I think it's important to write that script down and practice it in your head before you go into a high conflict situation where you know this person is going to behave like that. You're right. You wish you had said that. So now say it the next time.
And when you say it, would you say that I want to take a break and come back and see if it's any different, or would you actually walk away? It depends on the situation, I assume.
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation, but it's a power play as well, that you're letting a person know it's not okay. You might think it's okay, but I'm telling you it's not. And therefore, when I tell you it's not, there are consequences to that behavior. And the consequence is me getting up and walking away, or politely, but clearly hanging up on this call. There is a consequence for that behavior, and that person needs to see and feel that consequence. So, yes, emotionally, it is about walking away. And yes, you walk away from a situation, but I think you have to practice the actual art of walking away. It's like breaking up with a boyfriend. This is a boyfriend that you don't even like and is toxic and abusive, or a girlfriend, whichever, but you have to practice it.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Practice again.
Okay, let's also practice another one.
Yeah.
This boundaries. So this is about walking away. Let's say you're not yet feeling that pushed or triggered or punched in the face, and you just need to set a few boundaries, right? Like, we're going to talk about this and not that. And this is the way you can talk to me and not that way. Just some boundaries before you need to walk away. How do you do that? Right? How do you set that boundary? It's very nice to talk about. Like, literally, while I was writing this down, I was thinking, all well and good, how kind of you to say, let the other person know that their behavior is unacceptable. Okay, how? Right. So I'm going to try a script on you. And I have fine-tuned it over the years, and I think I will continue to fine-tune it, because these people will always be in my life, our lives, like work lives. It'll always be. I set boundaries by stating whether that person hears it, is listening, because we said also this person doesn't listen. So I set boundaries for me, not for that person. I've reframed that boundary setting. This person's not listening anyway. This person is going to interrupt me anyway, right? We said that's the behavior of this person. So I need to set boundaries for my self-esteem. I need to state boundaries because it's about me and not that person. So what I have practiced doing when I'm in a aggressive situation, and let's say this person has said, "Do you agree? Like, that is how you said this last time. And I really don't appreciate." Let's say that they're raising their voice and they're forcing you almost to make a confession about something that you don't agree with. My way of setting a boundary is to say, I actually don't agree. And the tone and the volume at which you are speaking, and at this point, they've already interrupted you. At this point, they're already angry and they're like probably, waving their hands around, or their voice is going higher. I still continue. And I continued almost in a monotone. And I continue to say, this is not working for me. It's really making me uncomfortable. I do want to have this discussion. And in this case, because I'm only setting a boundary, I'm not walking away. In this case, I would say, should we take a breather? That person will say, why? Like, this is really, this is fine. Like, you really got to learn to talk about it. If you can't even talk about it, then, right, this is going on. But it doesn't matter anymore what they have to say. I have set a boundary. I can pat myself on the back. I give myself a gold star. It builds my confidence to continue to have this conversation. So, me setting a boundary has now become not about the other person, it's about me. But I have to assert myself.
But when you set that boundary, if the person comes back and starts blaming you and saying that you are what I was told is very immature and unable to to be able to have these discussions, because I said many times that I'm uncomfortable with the way that I'm being spoken to. Can we please rethink our tone?
Yeah.
By the way that the message was being delivered, but I was being attacked.
So in that situation, I don't think you're ever going to win. No. This person is, again, not listening. You are being attacked. You're being disrespected. There's no reason for anybody to be talking to you like that. So you're not going to win. So walk away is one option. Second option, actually, is don't try to have that conversation at all. Respectfully step away for the time being and involve HR. Involve their boss. You've got to involve. This is why people have a job, professional job called mediator, professional job called facilitator, professional job, also called HR. At this point, you should recognize you're not winning this one. And in fact, you're hurting yourself. And that's why it's a high conflict person. It's not a normal discussion you're having. It is an unusual, high stress discussion. Let somebody else have it on your behalf. Let somebody else bring the logic, the rationality, or more importantly, let somebody else witness it. And that is the important part as well. Somebody else has to witness it. So bring in a facilitator, bring in a mediator. So first, pause it, set the boundary, get up, walk away, and then re-engage, but with somebody else.
Understood.
So as we all do now, I asked ChatGPT, hey, this is a situation. What would you suggest? And I have to read you what ChatGPT told me. One effective strategy, and I don't know why I'm using this tone, but I'm just really mad at Kathy right now. ChatGPT is Kathy, by the way. She's one of my friends. So one effective strategy is to redirect the conversation. If the other person starts to veer off topic or makes personal attacks, gently steer the conversation back to the issue at hand.
No, I disagree.
Yeah, thank you. Because I read it and I said, Kathy, you don't know what you're talking about.
Kathy hasn't had high conflict.
Yes, Kathy has clearly not had high conflict. Kathy does not know. Gentle steer the conversation, redirect. It does not happen.
For me, the one thing that I'm trying, even in my personal life, is not to use blaming statements.
Sure.
I think this is something using more. I feel like this because I perceive it like this. Because if I say you did this, you make me feel like this, you've done that, that just escalates the situation even further and gives that person even more meat to cling on to and be defensive and give you more trouble basically.
Yep. So using I statements is a effective, just even like relationship advice. People.
That's why I said,
Don't say you did not buy the bread for the evening, so I did not make dinner.
like, I feel carbless.
Yes, exactly.
At the moment, I would really like to eat some bread, but I see that it is missing.
Yes. Okay. There's another one of those Kathy ChatGPT ones that I want to tell you about that just as like, what? What is wrong with you? So ChatGPT said, effective communication is key when dealing with high conflict individuals. And in my brain, I went, oh, what does that even mean? Next sentence. Active listening is essential. By actively listening, we can understand their perspective and respond empathetically. This can help diffuse the situation and open up dialogue.
I have tried this and I've tried this over and I have ended up in tears. Let me put it this way. And you know what happened? The last call that I had with this woman, I remember her looking at me and she was yelling at me. She told me, I told her, can we just not use this tone again? Whatever. And then she looked at me and she said, fuck, I can't do anything. I can't say anything. I'm not allowed to say anything with you. It's always a problem with you. And then she said, you know what? I don't think I'm the right manager for you. And I looked at her and I said, I think so too. And I had a smile on my face because that's the day I realized this is done.
Yeah.
And I remember I was laughing because I found it so funny that she came to the same conclusion which I came to as well. Because for me, it was just like, I'm telling you that the way you're speaking to me makes me uncomfortable over and over and over again. There is zero effort to rethink the delivery. And at that point, I was already finished. And I remember the laughing to me was actually my power move at the end of it.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, done.
Yeah. Yeah. So can we both agree that using ChatGPT for high conflict people is complete BS? It's not going to get you anywhere because it is going to suggest things like active listening and redirect the conversation, which makes me vomit. It doesn't work with these people. But here's a technique that I think actually works. And I have used it very often, maybe not to solve and to, in quotes, win a negotiation, but to regain some power in the dynamic. And that is the power of silence.
Yep.
I almost want to play like a little game with you.
Yeah, let's do it. You're not intimidating. Like,
that was my game, though. But if you notice, you stepped right into it. You made faces at me. You gave me a smile. You told me I'm not intimidating versus just being in the silence.
And how long?
Right. So now we're not talking about normal people, right?
Yeah, again,
so normal people, different story. You can use silence and pause and, drink, sip your cup of tea. There's all of those. Those are normal people. Sorry, I have to use that term. Those are normal people. Here, we are talking about angry people. We're talking about high conflict, traumatized little boys and girls who've now grown up to be adults and are traumatizing others, right?
Bullies,
we're talking about
technically.
that. So I think the silence is actually no response. So that's what I mean by it. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I got asked by this person, he made a list of all the things that I should have done. And he said, but of course you see that you could have done this. I just sat there. I just sat. I don't agree. I don't have anything to add. I'm just going to let you finish speaking because I know you have 35 other sentences that are going to come out after this. So I just sat and I looked at him. Just eye contact, calm, in a not fake kind of way, meaning like, okay, finish. What else? I know there's more. Let's get it out. In that.
But you have to have bringing back to the self-confidence, right? You need to be confident that this is not you. If you have the self-doubt and that's what I was in for 1 year, was me being like, is this normal behavior? And now that I have gone through that, I know that this is not normal behavior.
Yeah.
That people are like this, and this is on them. This is all them.
Yeah.
And not me. But when people start making you feel like it's you, then you become into this you want to explain yourself. You want to tell them that, no, you're seeing me wrong. I'm not like that. You become
a baby, a child
trying to, gain approval from that person because you're like, why do you misunderstand me? Why? And usually, again, these high conflict people are also extremely good at giving you praise when they want you to be on their side and on over
manipulative.
They're manipulative.
Mhm.
So it's understanding when they're manipulative that if someone is being too nice, too mean, too nice, too mean, and they're constantly in this like yo-yo in this ping pong, that's a red flag.
And I'm glad that you're describing it because I really want you and me to remember this conversation because this is going to happen again.
Yes.
So let's not burn calories thinking about, oh, is it me? Yeah. You should immediately recognize it is not you. Yeah. It is this other person. And therefore, in that circumstance, not responding or being silent or giving a good 9-10 seconds of quiet before you respond is a power move. And you have to, and that's right, when you know that it's not you, it's the other person, you can do the power move.
Can I ask
Does it take
one
practice?
question?
Yes.
I have one question.
Yeah, you can.
Age.
Yes.
How does age play into this? Because usually in these situations, I'm much younger to the person that's giving me this. And a very common sentence that has been told, oh, you are very young. You are being immature. This is me being very wise as an older person. And I'm going to parent, give you that parental or advice, adult advice. I completely disagree with this because just because someone is older than me doesn't give them like
Yes.
moral high ground.
Yes.
Anyway, of course, there are times I act immaturely. I am young, but that doesn't give that other. They're not my mother.
Yeah. Okay. I earlier when we went for a walk, we were talking about this, right? I think we should again remind ourselves we're talking about high conflict people. Yeah. Not just normal, some dude being paternalistic and telling you how to live your life, right?
Agreed.
So when I get very regularly, I'm going to be 50, I get dudes, men who are 2 years older than me telling me what choices I should make and how that one was really not the best decision for me. That's just being paternalistic.
Agreed.
Right? That's a whole another episode.
Mansplaining.
Mansplaining, or I don't know, thinking that you're wise and, let me show you how it's done. Fine. In this particular conversation context that we're talking about, again, I don't know if age, if you are being disrespected, you're being disrespected. That's it.
I understand.
So, no, I gotta tell you something else. Okay, so rewind in my life, 2005, let's say, something like that. And my ex-husband's great aunt was in her 90s. And I kept feeling like, so we used to go visit her all the time. She was old. She lived in this, this
Hospice.
this Altaheim kind of place. And we'd go visit her. And I always felt like her questions to me were kind of odd. Or, so for example, she would ask me things like, I'm trying to find like if anybody else is listening to this, I'm trying to find a nice way to say it. But she would ask me things like, "Are you legal in the country?" And I'm like, "Excuse me, I am a." I mean, first, forget that I am highly educated. I have a job. I earn my own living. Forget all of that. What makes you think that it's okay to ask me that kind of question, right? So the reason I'm telling you this is I told this friend of mine, oh, she asked me this, and I think it's kind of odd. But, she's an old woman. She's in her 90s. I was being very charitable. And then this friend of mine turns around and very nicely, she tells me, Gitanjali, racism has no age.
True.
So high conflict people, no age. It has nothing to do with age. You are that kind of a person. And if you, as a younger person, have to deal with it, tell yourself that even though you have been culturally wired to respect older people, you should also remind yourself that you've been culturally wired to respect older people who are wise.
No, also assholes.
Yeah, but respect does not mean that you get bullied. Respect does not mean that you get pushed around. That is not respect.
But can I say, in Indian cultures, at least in like experiences that I've had extremely disrespectful adults say extremely disrespectful things. And if I have said something to them, this has been seen as a sign of disrespect and the fact that I am being disrespectful to them. And this has not gone very well. I remember this situation clearly where again this was something to do with my weight or something like that. And this woman who was telling me she is 150 kilos herself, telling me that I had put on weight or something like that. And I had told her, but you are also overweight. And that was taken extreme as if I, as a 12-year-old, was being extremely disrespectful. So I want to be sure that culturally, again, if we're talking about women of color, we are sometimes wired to even accept disrespect because someone is older, someone is a man. So I just really want to point that out.
I'm with you, but there's no, I shouldn't say but. I should say and. Yes, and. Okay.
This is the high conflict person.
Yeah. This is the high conflict person. This isn't just your regular auntie.
I know.
Right? We are talking about a work situation. I am by no means saying all of this applies to family,
Correct.
to friends,
Understood.
to your personal, circle, because that you deal with very, very differently because it has a different sort of effect on your life. I am talking about high conflict at work.
Agreed. But you need to be able to identify those people. We talked about the traits.
Mhm.
But when you are in a situation where you're talking to somebody, the context, even if you're at work, if something is mirroring a behavior or an interaction that you've had in your personal life and you were expected to behave a certain way, you can say, yes, this is work and this is it. I understand everything you're saying, but your body reacts intuitively.
Sure.
It reacts from history. It reacts from past experiences. And so you need to check yourself is basically what I'm saying. You need to be able to check yourself and have that awareness that this is a high conflict person. That's the first and the most important step, is identifying that this is a high conflict person, because that person can also be very manipulative and come across as many different types of people.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna ask us to take a break. Here's why. First, you and I are so excited right now. I can see the color in our cheeks. We're like leaning forward into each other. We're feeling the physical effects of even talking about a high conflict person. But the second reason is, you're right. Culturally, we've been trained, and then you're right, somebody's showing a behavior. We remember our auntie who told us something, right? All of that. The reason for us doing this episode is so that we identify it and we remember it.
Yep.
The point is, this is going to happen again. So please don't fall into the same loop again. And if you need, I don't know if this helps, I'm giving you permission, Abba, that this context is completely different. This person is already disrespecting you. It's high conflict, and it is at work. You have choices, you have power. You can walk away. This is not an auntie. So we're taking a break now. I want you to actually write down somewhere on a notepad that you physically handwrite, or in your. I really need you to write down who is that high conflict person in your brain. I want you to write that name down, and I want you to write down all the behaviors. And we are going to take a break. I want you to write that down, because then you have a reminder for yourself the next time you walk in. A, it's not me. B, it is a high conflict person, not a regular person. C, my culture and what I have been taught, or as a woman, or gender, doesn't matter, age, all of these aspects, they do not come into play for this circumstance. I need other tactics. And we've talked about some of those tactics. So 1 minute break, write that down. Okay, we're back from our break. Deep breath. Loosen up, like, whoo, it's all right. Okay, so let's summarize in a way some of these tactics. Tactics now. So we're not talking about deep psychological things of addressing your auntie and aggression. Not that. Let's just talk about some practical, hands-on, pragmatic, tactical stuff that we can do. So we already talked about one, which is get a mediator, a go-between. I think sometimes creating a layer between you and that person will help. By that, I mean, they will still continue to be high conflict. They're still going to continue to think you are an idiot, but it doesn't matter. You now have a witness to it. And it's tough to do, because very often earlier in my career, I did something that I didn't think I should continue to do, so I stopped doing it. So people would come and tell me, like my team would come and tell me, hey, you know what, this person said this or did that. And I would encourage them, this is the younger Gitanjali, I would encourage them to own it. And why are you coming and complaining to me? Go fix your own problem. Or I would encourage them to find their own voice. Now, the older, wiser me recognizes that that's putting a responsibility for high conflict. I'm not talking about regular conversations. I'm not talking about just regular disagreements. We're talking about people that the organization, this person is high conflict. This person is, you already know it. You've experienced it. Which is why I now strongly recommend having somebody else. Whether that person is neutral or not, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you have a witness to this conversation or these types of conversations. Why are you smiling at me?
Because and this is where again I come back. A person might be high conflict to you, but be very strategic about how they show their high conflictness to leadership.
Yeah.
And this is something which organizations need to recognize, that just because you as a leader have not experienced the side of a person doesn't mean that other people are not experiencing it. And this is something which it's very hard. Again, even if I come to you, but you're like, but she's lovely.
Yeah.
Then you're like,
that's being dismissive of what you're experiencing.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you haven't experienced it, and you're like, but she's great. And then you're like, she must be making this. She must be, making this up.
Yeah.
Unless there's another person who feels the same.
Right.
Right. So I want to. Yes, it's just a disclaimer, and I want to put it out because this happens and it is happening.
And here's the other thing. A high conflict person, if you bring HR in or a third party, they might behave delightful.
Absolutely. And that's my issue as well.
Yeah.
Is that delightful behavior, and then you again, that second guessing, it's all psychological.
Yeah.
And that's another thing with a lot of high conflict people, is that there's two types. One are high conflict people, and you can be like, no, those were wrong things to do. Others are little psychological issues that they create within, which is over a period of time. And that's why I like this idea of record keeping. And that's what I really wanted to ask you, because everyone, when you go to HR, the first question is, Where's your proof?
Yeah.
So proof is one thing, but if a person is creating a psychologically unsafe environment for you, they're not recording stuff. They're not like writing something aggressive to you over email. They're aggressive over a call, which is not recorded. So you need to make your own records, but you need to identify early enough the signs, the red flags, that this might be a high conflict person.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to train myself to do, is not to identify those small red flags early enough so that I'm able to start taking record.
Okay, tell me, how would you keep record? What does this documentation look like to you?
It would be that person's name on top.
Yeah.
And it would have probably every interaction that we have had, like a summary of it. So what was discussed, how certain maybe like words that we use. If I feel uncomfortable from a situation and I feel like, oh, that was a bit weird, I would like to document the kind of language that was used, because I want to start doing it as soon as I identify that this person is icky.
Icky is a good description. So how I've done it, and actually somebody taught me how to do it. So we, these ethics hotlines that companies have, or they have employee support thing. I actually have called employee support on my own behalf, not on behalf of somebody else, but for myself. And they made very constructive suggestions of this sort of record keeping to make it slightly evidence based.
Yeah.
And I say slightly, and I tell you what was suggested, and I've done this, so I can now say that because I've done it. So one, it needs to be immediate. So you have a high conflicty situation, you're talking, it's been uncomfortable, you walk away, hang up on the call, whatever it is. You finish being mad, like meaning get the first 10, 15 minutes out. But you need to do the record when you are in that same state of mind, not the next day after you've slept over it, because it's a very different experience of your own. So you need to do it immediate. So there's an aspect of immediacy, which really is within an hour or so.
Yeah.
It's not 4 hours later after my 6 other meetings at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It isn't that. The second thing is password protected. That file, because you're typically going to write it on a company laptop. Password protect it, forward it to yourself in an email, put it somewhere else so that you always have access to it. Another suggestion that was made is document, like you said, what was discussed, the words used. Like the example that you gave me shocked me, that someone used the word like don't fart. Like,
I remember just shutting off at that point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want every single fart that you think of to be here.
Yeah.
Because
So that's a great description in the sense of documenting those words, also documenting the emotion. So this person said it not funnily. This person said it angrily. This person said it at the start of a conversation, at the end of a conversation, in the middle of a conversation. This person said, so give your words that you're capturing an emotionality, because that makes it evidence. And nowadays, in modern HR, let's say, or even in the modern legal world, high conflict people can end up in high conflict, right? So you want to put as much color around it. Don't strip it away. Put it all in. I was angry. My heart rate was up. I walked out of the room and I was shaking for the next 20 minutes. I had to call my husband and I cried on the phone. Or I was so mad that I couldn't work the rest of the day. You need to be descriptive.
Yeah, because you're creating also, and I'm very upset with myself that I didn't go to HR. I got out of the situation without going to HR, and the same thing happened to the person before me who left. Who also didn't go to HR, went through the same psychological trauma, because we have been unable to 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 create a pattern of behavior.
Yes.
And this is something I regret, but I'm trying to let it go, because that's with these type of people, you need to create a pattern of behavior to HR, because they are very smart and they're not going to be openly aggressive with you. But there needs to be that third or the fourth person who's feeling the same shit that you felt, the same feeling of being inadequate.
Yeah.
There needs to be a pattern of behavior established.
And that is beautiful stewardship behavior on your part. Is sometimes you need to document, or you need to stand up and you need to say something, because you're actually protecting not just yourself,
Yep.
You're protecting someone else.
Yep.
And, I say this in our podcast as well. It's not only about standing up for yourself, it's about standing up for someone else. And this is a wonderful reason
To do.
to do that documentation. Is don't do it just for yourself. Do it to establish pattern of behavior, because the likelihood of a manipulative high conflict person having manipulated and had conflict so high. They would have done it in the past, they're going to do it again. So
Because they believe they're invincible.
right. There's another angle to this, if you're going to get into documentation, which you should, is preparation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've had, typically, I'm going to go with the ones interactions that I've had and that you've had. It's not a one conversation and you walked away. It's multiple conversations.
Yeah.
So after the first one, or the first early flags, like you said, you need to start preparing. So you need to start preparing like your walk away tactic. What has to happen for me to walk away? Or I'm not going to walk away, but these are the boundaries I will set. Deliberately thinking about it, thinking about this person's, in, like you said, they might be a wounded child in a grown-up body, right? Fine, I understand that, but I don't care. You're currently attacking me. I don't care where your trauma came from. I want to be respected, and I don't want to be the receiver of your aggression. So how does preparation deal with that? You can think about, what does this person actually want? Deeply, what are their weaknesses? Understanding that nuance will equip you to go in and set those boundaries, will help you actually walk away if you make the space by preparing for it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And they're all good, really good tips. I wish I had them earlier.
There's something else that I think it's really hard to do when you are with a high conflict person, is trying to find some way to be genuinely interested in what they're saying, because every fiber in your body is revolting against the way that they're saying it, the content, the how, all of it. So I think it's very hard to follow the regular principles of communication, like show genuine interest, or please connect on a personal level, take the time to have a conversation about like the weather, and ease into the conversation. I think that's almost impossible to do in a high conflict situation with a high conflict person. So I don't think we should even pretend to do it. You should know it and just step right into it. And I think preparation helps that.
And managing your emotions.
So I do think emotions are also a tool. I do think it is perfectly okay to show that you're angry. So when I said I calmly tell the person, but I also do it in a way that that I am mad. So I'm not raising my voice. I'm not thumping the table, but everything in my face and my fist is showing you I am mad at you. So I let my body also let you know, because if I'm sitting there and smiling, this person is not getting the right cues back. They also need the right cues back that, hey, that's not okay with me. You have to let your body show it as well that it's not okay with you.
It's not an easy thing to do.
No.
If you're not a person who is usually able to be that way,
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing to do. And usually high conflict people know that. I'm just saying that for some people, it's something you need to learn how to do.
Correct.
And hold space for yourself. But
Yes.
I know a lot of people who just don't want to do it. They don't want to be in this conflict. They don't even want to sit there and be there. Like they're like, okay, you know what, you do you. I'm not going to respond.
Yes.
Makes sense.
But that's also good, right? Because then you know that you don't want to participate. So then you learn to walk away. You set your boundary. You document things. You get a mediator of some sort. You know that will not work. You prepare for that, and then you walk away. That's so critical to know that you have the power. You're not a victim. You have the power to not participate in a high conflict situation. It's your power to choose that.
Mhm.
And you also have to actually, when you choose that, then limit your interactions.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
it's not going to be a one-time thing, right? You don't just walk away and then never show up. Well, maybe that is in a super toxic environment, sure. But you didn't not show up ever again. I couldn't. Right?
I would love to, but
Right.
he was my manager.
Exactly. So it's not possible to totally instantly not show up ever again and not see this person's face. So you do need to limit your interaction. I think it's also really important to be aware of when you have to interact again, how you're going to interact. So are you going to interact, for example, I know that I have an upcoming meeting with this person on Fridays. What do you do? On a Friday morning, do you cancel the meeting? What do you do with that Friday meeting? You have to, this is why they're high conflict. That is why they need your extra special attention. And getting into a shell and rolling away is an option, is what I'm saying. You have to do it. But you still have to find a way to finally finish never having to see their face again. So limit your interaction with this person. For me, it was critical. It has always been. I will not be in a closed room with this person. I will just not be. So if they say, hey, you know what, I booked a room down the hall, shall we go there? No, we won't. We will sit in a glass room with no curtains. We will not sit in a room where nobody can see us. So if you want to have drama with me, you better allow other people to see your drama. I'm not going to let. So for me, there's a physicality of that limiting my interaction. If I have to talk to you, I'm not going to floor number 2 and going and sitting in that corner. I'm going to sit in the glass phone booth that everybody can see us talking.
But can you do that if there's power dynamics?
So again, yes. Why? Because you have the choice to walk away. Why would you put yourself, you know this, okay, so you've identified this person is high conflict. You know that they're aggressive. If you know that already, which you do, we're not talking about the first interaction. I'm now talking about limiting your interaction.
Yeah.
We've talked about having somebody witness it. This is a no-win. We're not talking about, oh, let's try and a win-win. There's no win here. There's nothing. This is a burn it down situation. Then why would you be in a room with this person where they can continue to be abusive?
There's no need. You're right.
There is no need. So can you do it? Okay, why not?
I mean, if there's a power dynamic at play, that's what I meant. If the person is senior to you.
Again, this is like we were talking about whether the person is older. Yeah, senior, older.
Would you actually tell them, sorry, I don't want to be in a room with
No,
like,
no. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, no. That's not what I am a smart, intelligent woman. I would just say, oh, I already booked the other room. Let's go to that. Finished. Problem solved. So plan. That's why
but this is you saying that the other person says, yes. Okay, I'll come to your room.
Okay, and if they don't, then say, I'm feeling very uncomfortable. Can we reschedule? I'll find us another room. Right now, I'm not feeling so great. Fake it.
Yeah.
That's why it's called limit interaction. We're not working at a beautiful relationship with this person. We are talking about exiting from this person. Then, yeah, you can suddenly say, oh, you know what? I'm just really suddenly feeling really not well. Fine, make up an excuse. But what I'm saying is, you control it. You have to know you are not a victim. It does not matter whether that person is 7 levels above you or they are, 18 years older than you. Does not matter. They are high conflict. Therefore, the regular rules of interaction and negotiation don't apply. These are unusual ones.
Well, all right.
I'm a little tired.
Shall we eat something?
Yeah. Can we just wrap this one up?
I think so. So I guess, I mean, it goes without saying that dealing with these high conflict people is daunting. But I guess with the strategies that you put forward, documenting everything, limiting interaction, preparing where as much as you can, using mediators, using organizational resources such as HR, it can really help, set those boundaries and get you closer to your negotiation outcome, which is, either to leave the situation or, get as much as you can. Okay, so negotiation or dealing with high conflict people, let's call it that. It is a skill. You can identify these people because we've talked about how you can identify them. So you can identify these people and you can teach yourself and learn from your past experiences and improve how this will go for yourself. It'll never improve with that person, but you can improve how you feel, that you don't feel like a victim, that you don't have blaming behavior, that you feel empowered
or you feel power. Forget empowered, that you feel power. That is the point. So keep practicing those skills, and you will soon find that you will be well equipped to handle that challenge. Why? Because that challenge is going to come again.
Yeah.
High conflict people aren't going away. They are in your life. They're going to show up on a regular basis. And now you at least have awareness of it and you can bonk them on the head with it.
I need chocolate.
All right, chocolate it is.
That's a wrap for this episode of Negotiate Her. If you like this episode, share it forward and help us all rise together.
Your voice matters. Stand up for yourself. And when you can, stand up for someone else too. Until next time, this is Negotiate Her, empowering you to become unstoppable.